Keir Starmer has landed in hot water again, and this time it's over Labour's refusal to back a national inquiry into grooming gangs. The issue has reignited fury across the UK, with politicians, activists, and ordinary citizens demanding accountability. The scandal erupted when the chair of the Women's Policy Centre, Paola Diana, appeared on GB News, launching an extraordinary attack on Starmer and his party. She accused Labour of being out of touch and turning its back on the victims of one of Britain's most appalling scandals. Diana's anger was palpable. "It's not the far right who want this inquiry, it's the British people," she declared. "We need to listen to the British people." Her critique of Labour's position, which she described as a sacrifice of women's rights in the name of indiscriminate multiculturalism, was nothing short of blistering. And with a YouGov poll revealing that 76% of Britons support a national investigation, Diana's words struck a chord. But before we go any further, let's hear from Diana herself. Check out this clip of her passionate takedown.
Patrick, for having me. Our poll shows that Keir Starmer is completely out of touch with the public. It's not the far right who wants a public national inquiry on this incredible scandal. It's the British people. We need to listen to the British people. Keir Starmer should change his stance on that. And these girls were not only groomed. I don't like this polite, language. They were raped. They were tortured. They were filled with crack heroin when they were 11. 12, some of them were 8 years old, and some of them were killed as well. Can we name this girl? Because we forgot their names. Lucy Lowe, she was burned with all her family. Charlene Downs, she might have become kebab meat for what we know, and the perpetrators, they're still around. They were not convicted because not enough proof, because there is no body. Victoria Agolya, she was 15 years old when she died from an heroin injection. Becky Watson, she was 13. Vicky Round, she was 20, injected with heroin and cocaine and crack just at the age of 12 for 8 years. And Laura Wilson, she was 17 years old and she was tortured since she was 12. This is an appeal scandal. It shows misogyny, systemic misogyny, particularly also within the police forces. What were these policemen finding these naked girls with middle-aged Pakistani men in a room think? Why they didn't arrest these men? Why these men are rotting in jail? So we are furious. As a mother, as an advocate for women's rights, I'm furious. And I tell you, a lot of people out there are furious. This is not just...
Well, Paola, can I just say thank you for coming on and speaking so passionately about it, actually, and thank you for commissioning this polling as well and giving us first look at it here at GB News. Much appreciated, and I do hope to talk to you again very soon. It's Paola Diana there, who is the chair of the Women's Policy Centre.
Labour's position on the issue has only added fuel to the fire. The party voted down a Conservative amendment calling for a national inquiry, with Barry Gardiner defending the decision by claiming that Labour's focus was on passing legislation to protect children. "The bill that we passed means children are safer today," Gardiner argued. "It doesn't mean that we shouldn't have an inquiry, but children are now safer because we passed that legislation." But this justification didn't sit well with critics like Matthew Goodwin. The commentator slammed Labour's stance as a desperate attempt to avoid addressing the systemic nature of the problem. "This isn't just about individual cases," Goodwin fumed. "This is a national systemic scandal. The vast majority of Britons want a national inquiry. Labour's refusal to back one shows they're out of touch with the public." Goodwin went further, accusing Labour of trying to shift the focus off minority communities. He argued that the scandal challenges the left's progressive worldview, which often portrays minorities as victims rather than perpetrators. "What makes this issue so difficult for Labour is that it turns that narrative on its head," Goodwin said. "And instead of addressing the root of the problem, they're deflecting." For Labour, the timing couldn't be worse. The party is already under scrutiny for its handling of other controversial issues, and this latest scandal has left many questioning its priorities. Diana's passionate plea for justice resonated with viewers who feel that too many victims have been ignored for too long. "This is about justice for those girls," Diana insisted. "This is about holding those men accountable, and Labour is failing." As if the backlash wasn't enough, the controversy has drawn the attention of Elon Musk. the billionaire has been vocal about his disdain for Labour's stance, calling out Safeguarding Minister Jess Phillips in a series of incendiary tweets. Musk accused Phillips of being a rape genocide apologist and demanded her resignation. His remarks have led to increased scrutiny of Labour's approach, with critics questioning why the government seems more focused on policing social media than addressing the root causes of the grooming gang scandal. The Home Office has reportedly intensified its monitoring of Musk's posts, a move that has only added to the public's frustration. Oscar Reddrop, a former advisor to Boris Johnson, warned Labour against escalating the situation. "If you go after Musk, you're only going to make things worse," Reddrop said. "He's not the kind of person to back down. If anything, he'll double down, and that's the last thing Labour needs right now." Reddrop also pointed out the glaring disconnect between Labour's actions and public sentiment. People are seeing this and asking, why is the government monitoring tweets when there are real crimes going unpunished? It's a bad look for Labour, and it's only going to hurt them in the long run. While Musk's comments about Jess Phillips have been widely condemned as inappropriate, the broader concerns he raised about Labour's priorities are resonating with many. As Reddrop noted, the perception that the government is more concerned with online discourse than real-world issues like grooming gangs is deeply troubling. "It's a warped sense of priorities," he said. "People want justice for the victims, not more social media surveillance." Labour, however, has defended its stance. A spokesperson reiterated the party's support for local investigations, such as the one commissioned by Oldham Council. "We will welcome and support independent investigations that put victims' voices at the heart of the process," the spokesperson said. But for many, this response falls short of addressing the systemic failures that allowed grooming gangs to operate unchecked for so long. As the scandal continues to unfold, one thing is clear: the public's demand for justice is not going away. The stories of victims like Lucy Lowe and Charlene Downs have reignited a national conversation about accountability and the need for systemic change. And while Labour may hope to move past this controversy, the pressure is mounting for the party to take a stronger stance. If Keir Starmer thought he could weather this storm by avoiding a national inquiry, he may have underestimated the public's fury. From grassroots activists to high-profile commentators like Diana and Goodwin, the calls for justice are growing louder by the day. And as the polling shows, the British people are united in their demand for action. Labour now faces a choice: listen to the public or face the consequences. Keir Starmer and Labour face backlash for opposing a national inquiry into grooming gangs, with critics accusing the party of ignoring systemic issues and public sentiment. Activists, commentators, and 76% of Britons demand accountability. Critics argue Labour prioritises optics over justice, risking further alienation amid mounting national fury for change and victim justice.